Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. WNBA slate on Tuesday got 3 games. I'm going to run through picks and projections, most importantly, for all 3 games here. Having a really nice young season for the WNBA so far. 9-5 on the early season with the record there. 4.04 units up in the W right now. So we're going to keep rolling along. I've got about 4 best bets, a couple leans as well. Make sure you're jumping in the Discord because that's where I'm putting everything. Link is in the description of the video if you have not yet jumped into that Discord. A lot of good looks coming from everybody, especially for the W right now. We are robust with picks and looks and angles coming in for the W. So I'm going to get into what I have right now. Also want to remind you about all the NBA stuff coming up. That's all scrolling on the bottom line if you want to know the schedule. NBA picks and projections coming out on Tuesday. Also got the live stream on Wednesday, 3 hours before tip, 5 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you get that. Lots of hoop coming our way. Let's get into the W for Tuesday. Let's kick it off with the game of the night. Hands down, we got the Minnesota Lynx in Vegas taking on the Aces here. Aces having a little bit of a tough stretch over the past couple games or so. Lynx, however, are basically the hottest team in the league, looking like one of the top 3 or so teams in the W right now. Offensive and defensive rating, both in the top 3. They're playing incredibly slow, 11th pace, but really everything's kind of mixing and matching right now in the early season. You have one slow game or one fast game that can move you up and down pretty dramatically in the standings, as there haven't been that many games played yet, as we know. The rebounding would be a weak point for them. I would say that's the weakest point of their team, because if you look at the way they're shooting and the way they're limiting the other team from making shots, best in the league in both of those categories. And for the Aces, offensive rating still great. Playing really fast, getting up and down the floor, a lot of versatility all over the place, 3-point shooting, and a lot of good looks down low, obviously, with A'ja Wilson, best player in the league. We got to give it to her. But everything else, not so good right now on defense, giving up in about 8th or so. It's really close, but they're 8th in terms of limiting the other team's effective field goal percentage. They're shooting the ball super well. Don't get me wrong. Their offense is humming, looks really good. I lean strongly to the over in this one because of both teams not necessarily doing as well defending what the other one wants to do. But let's take a look at what my first bet is for this one. I got to take the Lynx here. This is an incorrect line. I'm not sure if people thought that maybe because Jackie Young was questionable for this game, which it looks like, by the way, Jackie Young is going to play in this. But perhaps the fact that she had a questionable tag leading up to just very recently, as I'm recording this on Monday night before this game gets going, obviously on Tuesday, she was still questionable. But even with her in, we've seen this spread drop a little bit. It opened at 8.5. I gave it out in the Discord at 8.5 and also hit it at 8.5 and 7.5. So I'm happy to still give this bet to you at plus 7.5 for Minnesota. They are the hottest team in the league right now. They're looking really, really good. They are first in fast break points. This is going to be a big advantage for them. Despite their slow pace, if you miss shots or turn the ball over, they're right down to the other side of the floor. And Vegas, 5th most points that they're allowing off of that fast break. So if they don't get back on defense the way they have not been so far in this young season, we're going to see a lot of easy points for Minnesota. They're also number 1 in terms of 3 points, 3-point shots made. Neither of these teams doing much work down low in the paint, but both very good shooting teams, top 2 effective field goal percentages on offense in the league. And the Vegas Aces here, not good at limiting threes. They're much better at limiting point paints down low. That's not what Minnesota wants to do. They are the number 1 3-point shooting team. They are the 2nd worst team in terms of scoring in the paint. That happens to be where Vegas is very good at limiting you down low with their bigs. But that doesn't really matter here against Napheesa Collier and team and company. Like, she's the only one really scoring down low for Minnesota is Napheesa. So there's not really as many advantages for the Aces, despite the fact that this was, basically the defending champs coming in looking like they were going to be the number 1 team in the league again. They're still very capable of that. Jackie Young did miss a game, so that will impact them. But overall, they're having a bit of a down year compared to last year, and the Lynx are looking like the team to beat right now. So we're going to take them to cover a very large spread that will probably get bet down under 6 points before tip. So if you get this thing at above 5.5 or better for the Lynx here, I would definitely hit that. Like I said, I hit it twice at 7.5 and 8.5 for Minnesota. Next game is actually the first game on the slate here. Not quite as juicy of a matchup between the Mystics and the Dream. Both of these teams, bottom 2 in the league in terms of their offense. Defense for Washington has been awful all season, everywhere except for down low. They are pretty good at limiting points in the paint, but they will foul the crap out of you, and they will give up a ton of threes. The Dream haven't exactly been world beaters on offense by any means. They're playing incredibly slow and choppy, relying on their defense to do well for them. You can see bottom 3 in pace, bottom 3 in rebounding. Their offensive effective field goal percentage, second worst in the league, but their defense, 5th best defensive rating, 4th best at limiting the other team's effective field goal percentage. For Washington, man, just not much to look at on this young season right now. The only winless team still left. I think they're much better than a winless team. I definitely lean strongly to them covering. We'll talk about that in a second. But overall, they're going to need to get better all over the place. Everything other than playing defense down low has been a big struggle for them this season. I've got a lean, though, which is plus 7.5 for Washington. Like I said, I think they're undervalued because they are better than the way that their record might indicate. Now, Brittany Sykes is still going to be out. However, Shakira Austin might be back. She's listed as questionable for this game. If she's back in this one, I like this plus 7.5, and I will be hitting it. Would remind you once more to jump into that Discord, because that's where I'll be giving this updated information tomorrow as soon as we know a little bit more about Austin's status. If she is in, though, it's a bet, man. And even if she's not, there might be a couple things that might sway me as I continue to dive deeper into this game that would still cause me to bet on the Mystics taking all these points from the Dream, who are not super impressive unless they can keep things really slow and choppy, which they might be able to. But you look at the matchup overall, and like Washington, the biggest pain point for them is going to be free throws. But if you look at their points in the paint, they limit that to the 3rd fewest. Atlanta's not really trying to score down low, so not too much of an advantage there. But fast break points is an area where Atlanta, because of that really weak offense, they have been a lot more successful. If they can get ahead of the defense and get into transition down the floor, they're a lot better of a team. Mystics, pretty good, though, at limiting fast break points. 5th best in the league right now. So that's going to be a calling card for them moving forward, hopefully, is that they do get back behind the ball on defense. But man, those free throws, they are the worst free throw team in terms of the amount of free throws they shoot. They're also worst in terms of the amount that they give up. Their free throw attempt rate on both sides of the floor is terrible for this Washington Mystics team. If the Dream can get to the line, which they're a decent free throw shooting team, they're not getting there that often. But if they get to the line, this is going to be a big problem for the Mystics. At this point in the last 3 games, especially for the Dream, 3rd most free throws in the league. So they are trending upward as a team that could probably get theirs. That would be the biggest reason that I have not yet bet on the Mystics, is if Shakira Austin is not in there, they're a little bit worse down low, and they're a lot more likely to foul. I do have a player prop, though, for the Dream, and that's Rhyne Howard, who has been very, very impressive this season. Really love her game, and she's really come on as a dimer. She's passing up a lot more lately. Over the last 5 games, much different than the first 4 games. So I'm taking the points and assists for Rhyne in this one. We're going over 18.5, minus 114 on FanDuel. I think she's pretty good for the points, but they're still very high. It's up at about 14.5 points for her, which she's only done once in her last 5 games. But in the first 4, she was shooting lights out and was over in all 4 of those, averaging about 21 points per game in the first 4, but didn't have quite as many assists as she's had in the last 5. So as her shot attempts have gone from, in the first 4 games, 16 shots a game, to the last 5 games where they're down to about 11 shots per game. So she's dwindled about 4 or 5 field goal attempts per game, but her passing has gotten a lot better. She's gone over in 4 of the last 5 in terms of the dimes, and is averaging 4.6 in that sense. So I think we're still getting some pretty good value here, because if you add the assists, those are still very low. She just had a 10 assist game in the last one against, I believe it's the Sky is the team that they just played. But the shooting has just been ice cold. 11 attempts should still be good to get her about the 15 points that she needs in this one, especially because she should be going to the line a ton against this really bad team. 24% of her points come from the free throw line, 23% come from transition. And I just told you about how bad Washington is at limiting both those things. So this is the exact type of player that gets hers against the Washington Mystics. But I'm adding the assists in there instead of just the points, because she's liable to get 5, 6, 7 assists, which this assist prop is only about 3.5. I'll talk more about that in a second as a part of a parlay that I have using her dimes. But as far as the points go, I'm adding the assist to it to take over 18.5 PA for her. Even if you look at the last 5 games, like I said, where she's been ice cold, still on the season, averaging 19.2 points and assists combined on the season as a whole. So I think those numbers should average out against this team. She should be able to get the points, but definitely the assists, put them together for her to get 19 in this one. I'll come back to those Rhyne Howard assists in one sec. I'm going to be using a player from this game and her props to combine with Howard's assists. But let's take a quick look at this third game, which is Seattle and the Sparks, right? I actually lean strongly to the Sparks being able to cover this. I also like an under once again, those are both leans in this game, and we'll have more on it in the Discord tomorrow as I chop it up with the people that we've got up there in the WNBA channel who are very active every single day. So I'll be talking to them a bit more about it. But if you break down the matchup between these two teams, you can kind of see why I think it might be a little bit closer than the records indicate. Now, the Sparks have been one of the worst teams in the league, at least the way that they've gotten blown up to bits by a couple of different teams, some really bad blowouts against the Sparks this season. Their offensive rating, defensive rating, both basically bottom third, but middle-ish of the pack in the league, 8th in both cases, 7th in pace. They are one of these teams that's a little bit hard to handicap, mostly because they are very versatile and do a lot of different things pretty well. They're sort of a jack of all trades, but not necessarily a master of any, except for rebounding and playing down low. They get really good looks, which is why their offensive field goal percentage is very high. Their rebound percentage also very high, and why they're pretty good at limiting stuff in the paint. But overall, 10th in terms of their defensive effective field goal percentage. Teams can shoot from deep, they can shoot mid-range, they can get a lot in the corners against this team, and they can still get theirs down low. So the Sparks not doing anything particularly well on defense, especially. For Seattle, this is a team that just wants to get out and go, right? Skylar Diggins-Smith and all these players really just want to get it and go and play in the open court. Jewell Loyd as well up there for players that are very good in space. And so that's why they do play pretty fast. Their defense has helped them turn steals and such into offense, right? That's really the benefit of playing faster, is that they are hoping that you miss shots and they can get it and go and get back in front of you before you're able to really get your defense behind the ball. Their defensive effective field goal percentage has led to more points in transition because they do block shots and limit points and open looks for the other team. That's really the basis of their offense, is good defense. But neither of these teams show, or I should say, Seattle doesn't really show much on offense. I mean, they have the second worst offensive effective field goal percentage in the league. So it's a little bit of a battle of your weakness versus my strength kind of thing, which makes this a little bit more even, which is why I'm leaning towards taking the points with LA. They're at about 10.5 right now. More on that tomorrow, though. For now, the bet that I have, though, is I'm adding Jewell Loyd's over 1.5 three-pointers made, which is low, but she has not had a very good three-point shooting season. But I'm putting that with Rhyne Howard's assists at 3.5, which are also juiced way down, -140 as I'm recording this on Bet365. So not a very good number for either by themselves. But you put them together, we get +157 on FanDuel. I'm putting a full unit on it because I really believe in Loyd's ability to get the 2 threes that she needs in this game. It's about -170 if you take this as a solo play. But we're getting value because she has not had a great shooting season. Still, when this was at 2.5, it was a dangerous bet to go over on the threes for Jewell Loyd. At 1.5, we're getting a ton of value here, even at -170. She's coming off a game where they finally had to dumb the 3-point prop down for her for this one because she just went 1 for 9 against Minnesota, right? Now, 9 attempts, though, really gives you some optimism here that she can still get hers because she's taking so many. On the season, she's averaging 5.33 3-point attempts. But she's gone over this 1.5 number, but I think 6 of 9 times now on the season. So just because she's not hitting the 3 per game that we all expected her to be hitting, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 would be the projection for her, doesn't mean she's not capable of it, and doesn't mean she's not hitting 2 of them. She's still hitting that very consistently. So we're going to take her to get those, especially against this Spark squad, which, like I said, decent down low on defense, but bad against the 3-pointer, allowing the 4th most makes from deep on the season. And for Howard, I was mentioning the assists. On the season, she's at 4.1 assists per game, but in the last 7 especially, she has been diming up a ton over this number of 3.5 and 5 of the last 7. Just came off that 10 assist game, like I mentioned as well earlier in the episode. So love both these bets together. Going to take them to get +157 on your money there on FanDuel. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Like I mentioned at the top, if you do not yet have an Outlier.bet account, you can use the link that is in the description of this video. Free trial right there for yourself. See if it's helping you out as much as it is me. And this is what we're using on the live streams as well every day. This is the home base because it's a nice one-stop shop for everything that we need, from game lines to player props especially. So make sure you check that out and at least get the free trial so you can see if you like it for yourself. Also, a quick reminder about that Discord. Once again, jump into the link of the description of this video with the link, and then come in there and I'll see you guys talking up all this hoop and baseball and soccer, I should mention as well, and everything right now. We got channels for it all. So really good looks coming through the Discord. Jump in there and have a good time with us if you haven't yet. I'll be back with picks and projections on Tuesday for both of the WNBA on Wednesday and that game 3 in the NBA. So make sure you check it out. Hit me up on the live stream, 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday as well. And until I see you then, Happy betting.